The European Union, as we know it today, emerged from a series of treaties and negotiations aimed at fostering economic and political cooperation across Europe, particularly in the aftermath of World War II. The foundational idea was to create an integrated market that would eventually evolve into a union covering various policy areas, including economic, social, and foreign policies. The first significant step towards this integration was the 1951 Treaty of Paris, which established the European Coal and Steel Community. This was followed by the 1957 Treaties of Rome, which created the European Economic Community and Euratom. Despite its ambitious goals for integration, the EU has faced numerous challenges and criticisms over the years. One of the main criticisms has been its perceived democratic deficit, where decision-making often feels remote or opaque to its citizens. This issue became especially apparent during significant treaty reforms, when public referendums occasionally rejected proposed changes, signaling a disconnect between EU policies and public opinion. Economically, the EU has been criticized for its response to crises, particularly during the 2008 financial crisis and the subsequent Eurozone debt crisis. These events revealed weaknesses in the EU's economic framework, particularly the lack of fiscal integration to complement its monetary union. The crisis led to high unemployment and slow growth, which fueled Euroscepticism and raised doubts about the EU's ability to manage economic challenges effectively. Furthermore, the EU's enlargement and integration process has often been described as muddling through, characterized by ad hoc decision-making and crisis management rather than strategic, long-term planning. This approach has sometimes resulted in inefficient policies and slow responses to rapidly evolving situations, further contributing to public skepticism and criticism of the Union's effectiveness. 9 countries are currently recognized as official candidates for European Union EU membership: Albania, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Georgia, Moldova, Montenegro, North Macedonia, Serbia, Turkey, now referred to as Turkey, and Ukraine. Each is at a different stage in the accession process, which requires significant reforms and alignment with EU standards across various sectors, including democratic governance, economic policies, rule of law, and human rights protections. In a surprising turn, Serbia has increasingly distanced itself from the EU integration process, signaling a possible shift in its strategic priorities. In an interview with National Defense magazine, Serbian Deputy Prime Minister Aleksandar Vulin expressed doubts about Serbia's future in the EU. "I am convinced that there is no place for Serbia in the EU," he stated, "at least not until it has made much more effort to accept us as a full member." He pointed to potential cooperation with BRICS, an economic alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and 5 other nations, as a more appealing alternative. Vulin emphasized that BRICS does not impose political conditions, unlike the EU. BRICS membership does not require laws to be written outside of Serbia, he noted. He highlighted BRICS' vast resources and economic potential, adding, "They aren't asking anything from us, and perhaps we can cooperate economically with an organization that controls 51% of the world's gas, 47% of the world's oil, and has surpassed the G7 in GDP." He also reaffirmed Serbia's commitment to strategic and military neutrality, emphasizing that Serbia is willing to work with any organization that includes countries respectful of its neutrality. This position supports Serbia's decision to avoid imposing sanctions on Russia, marking a divergence from potential EU expectations. BRICS members, meanwhile, have shown varying levels of interest in Serbia's possible membership, reflecting their broader geopolitical and economic strategies. Quick note: if you're enjoying this content, please hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. Your engagement helps us grow. Thank you. China views Serbia's potential BRICS membership as a strategic expansion into Europe, aligning with its ambitions to enhance influence in the region. Chinese President Xi Jinping's planned visit to Serbia underscores strong Chinese support for Serbia's entry into BRICS, highlighting the geopolitical importance China places on this move. Russia also backs Serbia's potential inclusion in BRICS. The presence of Russian officials and encouragement for Serbia to participate in BRICS summits signal Russia's endorsement and its strategic interest in strengthening the alliance's global positioning and expanding its influence in Europe. From an economic and technological perspective, other BRICS nations like India and Brazil could benefit from partnerships with Serbia, particularly in sectors such as agriculture, energy, and technology, where there are strong synergies. Serbia's strategic location and well-developed infrastructure also make it a valuable partner for boosting trade flows between BRICS countries and Europe. Serbia's journey toward European Union, EU membership has been long and complex, beginning in December 2009 when it formally submitted its application. The process has involved a series of significant negotiations aimed at aligning Serbia's policies and institutions with EU standards. The Stabilization and Association Agreement, SAA, between the EU and Serbia, a critical step towards EU membership, came into force in September 2013. This agreement marked a significant milestone, formally aligning Serbia's laws and regulations more closely with those of the EU. By March 2012, Serbia had been granted EU candidate status, initiating deeper engagement with the EU accession process. Negotiations have focused on various chapters of EU law, with particular emphasis on fundamental rights, the rule of law, public administration reform, and economic reforms. Serbia has faced several challenges, including the need for substantial improvements in its judiciary, anti-corruption measures, media freedom, and overall governance. These reforms are crucial not only for aligning with EU standards, but also for ensuring the effectiveness and independence of Serbia's institutional frameworks. Additionally, Serbia's foreign policy alignment with the EU, particularly regarding sanctions against Russia, has been a contentious issue. The EU expects candidate countries to align with its common foreign and security policy, which includes sanctions. However, Serbia's historical and political ties with Russia have complicated this alignment, making it a significant hurdle in the accession process. Another major area of concern is Serbia's relationship with Kosovo. The EU has emphasized the importance of normalizing relations between the two, including the recognition of Kosovo's official documents and symbols as part of EU-brokered agreements. This remains a critical and sensitive issue in Serbia's EU negotiations. The Stabilization and Association Agreement, SAA, between the EU and Serbia, a crucial step toward EU membership, came into effect in September 2013. This milestone officially aligned Serbia's laws and regulations more closely with those of the EU. By March 2012, Serbia had been granted EU candidate status, initiating its formal engagement with the EU accession process. Negotiations have since focused on various chapters of EU law, particularly those related to fundamental rights, the rule of law, public administration, and economic reforms. Serbia faces several key challenges, including the need for significant improvements in its judiciary, anti-corruption measures, media freedom, and overall governance. These reforms are critical not only for meeting EU standards, but also for ensuring the effectiveness and independence of Serbia's institutional frameworks. A major point of contention in Serbia's accession process is its foreign policy alignment with the EU, especially regarding sanctions against Russia. The EU expects candidate countries to align with its common foreign and security policy, which includes its sanctions regime. However, Serbia's historical and political ties with Russia have made this alignment particularly difficult, posing a significant hurdle in its accession journey. Another sensitive issue is Serbia's relationship with Kosovo. The EU has emphasized the importance of normalizing relations with Kosovo, including the recognition of Kosovo's official documents and symbols as part of EU-brokered agreements. This remains a critical and delicate aspect of Serbia's EU negotiations. Thank you for watching. If you found this video inspiring or informative, please consider showing your support by liking and subscribing to our channel. Your engagement means a lot to us. Feel free to check out another video from our channel, which is now on the screen.